Hello, and welcome to the Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails Delegate Training video. We are excited to be preparing for our annual meeting, and we'd like to congratulate you on being elected as an official voice in your service unit. Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails, herein referred to as Council, covers the top 2/3 of New Mexico, from Glenwood and Portales to the Colorado border, with the exception of the Navajo Nation, which is served by the Arizona Cactus Pines Council. Because we cover such a large expanse of land, we have amazing local teams of volunteers who make sure that girls are involved in their local communities. We call these teams of volunteer leaders service unit teams, and we refer to different areas within our council as service units. You have been elected as a delegate representative of one of these local service units. Although this number fluctuates, we currently have 26 service units across our council. Within each of those service units, the members from each given region elect the allotted number of delegates. The number of girls registered within each service unit determines this allotted number. The Girl Scout movement is rooted firmly in the belief that the democratic process shall guide its activities. This means that members can influence decisions and activities in matters of governance and management and have access to those responsible for decision-making. This governance process was put in place to ensure that all 7,000 of our members have a voice. The governance process is most evident at the Council's annual meeting and at the National Council session, which is held every 3 years and was most recently held in the fall of 2014 in Salt Lake City, Utah, where delegates met to vote on national governance issues and elect our GSUSA board members. The next session will be held in the fall of 2017 in Columbus, Ohio. Today, this video will cover governance and operations, roles and responsibilities of delegates, and an explanation of how to submit a proposal. If, after completing this training video, you and the delegates in your service unit feel you are in need or want an in-person supplementary training, please contact us at 505-343-1040 or email us at customercare@nmgirlscouts.org. Regional and national delegates are part of the governance process in our council. What exactly does governance mean? And what's the difference between governance and operations? People working in governance make the big picture decisions, establishing the direction that the council will take. People working in operations carry out those plans and implement the decisions. They make it work. Governance decisions are further broken down and carried out by different groups of people. Very high-level decisions are made by the voting members at the annual meeting. Once the voting members establish high-level directions, members from the board of directors work throughout the year, providing oversight and ensuring organizational and financial stability. Most of you are very familiar with the operational side of things. These are the actual processes put in place to get us to the big picture vision. As a delegate, you are in charge of that big picture vision. Let's take a look at some examples of the differences between governance and operations. Take a few moments to read the examples on the following slides, and then take our fun quiz to test your understanding. One simple way of looking at it is by who takes care of each level. High-level decision-making is done by voting members or delegates. That's you. Oversight is done by the board of directors, and operations is carried out by staff. You can see the difference in many different parts of our council structure. Here is the difference in strategic planning. Governance plans budgeting for programming in series, camp, events, travel, and troop pathways. Operations uses this plan to hire staff in outlying areas to focus specifically on working with community partners to provide these pathways for our members. the difference between governance and operations and fiduciary oversight, operations plans program, and sets program fees to stay within the council budget. Governance approves and oversees the council budget and works to ensure that the council is operated in accordance with the laws. And an example of the differences within policies and procedures: governance sets the safety of all members and the preservation of the council's good name as a goal. Operations establishes procedures for criminal background checks to be performed on all volunteers. Let's see if you've grasped the difference between governance and operations. How did you do? Hopefully really well. Understanding the difference between governance and operations helps you understand the scope of what a delegate takes care of. So what role does a delegate serve? Regional and national delegates provide a way for information about ideas and governance matters to flow to and from members. When faced with certain issues during the year, the board of directors might ask the delegates to share information with members or to gather input from them. This year, delegates are asked to prepare themselves for the annual meeting by communicating with their members, preparing and submitting any proposals to be submitted to the board of directors, and to prepare themselves for the annual meeting by communicating with the membership in their service unit. Voting members are asked to come to the annual meeting informed but not instructed. What does this mean? While you are responsible for understanding the viewpoints in your region, you should never come prepared to vote on any issue in one direction or another. Instead, be prepared to listen and consider everything you hear. You were elected because your region has entrusted you with the responsibility to make the best decision you can after careful consideration of everything you learn. It's important to inform yourself about what the members in your service unit think. Their opinions should inform your vote, but ultimately it's your decision. Members in your region won't have heard the discussion at the annual meeting or the thoughts from other service units in our council that are brought up. Different perspectives will be shared that you will have heard during this annual meeting. After the annual meeting, you're asked to report back to your members and let them know what happened. What does the delegate cycle look like annually? Annually, on behalf of the Board of Directors, staff notifies each service unit manager by March 15th of the number of delegates and alternates they're entitled to. The number of registered girls within a service unit determines this allotted number. This council has no less than 60 delegates and no more than 240. 2/3 of these delegates come from service units. The other third is comprised of the board, the officers, the Board Development Committee, and delegates appointed by the Board to reflect diversity within our Council jurisdiction. By May 15th, the service units elect and submit the names of the delegates and alternates to the Council office. From May 15th through August, the delegates' responsibility is to facilitate discussions with the members of their service unit to determine proposals to be submitted for consideration at the September Board of Directors meeting. From September through November, each delegate is responsible for facilitating discussion within the service unit to ascertain how the members feel about each proposal that was submitted. Remember that at the annual meeting in November, you will be hearing opinions from across the Council as well. While your regional members guide your vote, it is ultimately your decision to make. How do proposals work? A proposal can be developed by the service unit between May and August for submission at the September Board of Directors meeting. After a proposal is prepared, it is forwarded to the Board of Directors for their approval, and if approved, is included on the agenda at the annual meeting. All proposals which are included on the agenda will be voted on by the delegates who attend the annual meeting. The proposal process requires you to keep in mind 6 things. 1. The scope of the proposal should address improvement of Girl Scouting throughout the entire Council jurisdiction. 2. Proposals must be submitted in the approved format by the scheduled board meeting in September. The approved format can be found on the Delegate Information section of our website. 3. Our Council bylaws govern any proposals related to the bylaws and proposed amendments. Make sure you are familiar with these bylaws, which can also be found on the Delegate Information section of our website. 4. The Board of Directors considers the proposal and at its sole discretion determines whether the proposal should be placed on the agenda for the annual meeting. 5. All board-approved proposals, including the board's recommendations, are forwarded to the service units for their discussion and consideration. They will also be posted on the Delegate Information section of the website following the September Board of Directors meeting. 6. The proposals are discussed and voted on at the annual meeting held in November. We're looking forward to seeing you at the annual meeting this year, which will be held on November 12, 2016, at the National Hispanic Cultural Center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. As this date approaches, each delegate will receive information from our Director of Administration and Operations on the location, times, and agenda of our annual meeting. If you find that you are unable to make this meeting, or if you need to resign as a delegate, please contact the Director of Administration and Operations as early as possible at 505-343-1040 or by emailing customercare@nmgirlscouts.org. At annual meeting, you will see that our Council uses Robert's Rules of Order as the parliamentary authority. By following these rules, we know that the decisions are made according to the will of the majority. The rights of the minority will be heard. The rights of absentees are protected since a quorum is required to conduct business. Courtesy and justice for all is ensured, and one subject at a time will be considered. Here are the governing rules of debate that we will ask to approve at the beginning of the annual meeting. Robert's rules can seem somewhat intimidating to some. Fortunately, our Council's parliamentarian will be present at the annual meeting, and assistance will be available if you want to influence the discussion in some way but aren't sure how to do it. Here are 4 basic governing rules of debate. Discussions must be relevant to the subject that is before the Council. No person may speak for more than twice on the same subject. No person may speak for more than 2 minutes at any one time. Only voting members of the council may speak on questions requiring official action by the council. Voting members are defined as delegates elected by regions, delegates to the National Council of GSUSA, members of the Board of Directors, Girl Board participants, and members of the Board Development Committee. Many ask, what exactly is expected of me as a delegate? As a delegate, you are responsible for being well informed of the policies and workings of the Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails, reading all delegate communication, information, and materials, being able to articulate the issues clearly to and from the membership and the Board of Directors, attending the annual meeting and casting a well-informed vote, being prepared to serve if called upon for any special meetings, to elect officers of the board, members at large, delegates and alternates to the National Council of GSUSA, and members of the Corporation Nominating Committee, receiving and responding to reports from the Board of Directors, submitting any concerns relating to the policy to the Board of Directors. This concludes your delegate training. Please visit our website and review the supplementary materials that have been provided for your benefit and information. Thank you for your participation in this process, and congratulations again on your election to this position. We look forward to seeing you at the annual meeting on November 12th.